Today we're going to be talking about meeting cadence. Stay tuned for 4 key meetings that you should be conducting in your organization every week and every month. So let's unpack this model of 4 simple meetings. What are the 4 meetings that need to be happening in your business? The first is your Monday commit meeting. It's a commit meeting. The clue is in the name. What we want to do in this meeting is we want to lock down what's happening in the coming week. What are we committing to? What are we going to close? Who are we seeing? And where are we moving the needle forward on our deals and our opportunities? So this is not a pipeline interrogation. In your commit meeting, there are really 3 things that you want to achieve. The first is you want to know, what are your committed deals? What is actually going to transpire? What is the customer committed to? What is the rep committed to? And of course, you're tracking this week on week. You then want to uncover your at-risk deals. So what has slipped? What has changed? What has stalled? And why? And what do we need to do to take remedial action on those deals while we still have the opportunity? And then we want to identify pipeline gaps. We really want to identify pipeline gaps. And let me tell you why. I don't know what it is that you sell, and please do let me know in the comments. I want to know who you are, what you sell, which organization you're from. But if you're in B2B sales, the likelihood is that you probably have a long sales cycle and a complex decision-making process that involves multiple stakeholders that you need to get into some form of alignment and consensus in order for you to move the deal forward. What you want to do is identify gaps, you see, because if your sales cycle is long and we only identify the truth, we only are eliminating stalled deals from our pipeline when we really have to, when we haven't identified that we all of a sudden are not getting as many leads in, we're not converting leads to discovery meetings, we're not converting discovery meetings to solution engineering and to presenting those proposals. Well, here's the thing. In a B2B organization with a long sales cycle, by the time we realize that our pipeline isn't actually giving us what we need because we haven't interrogated that with the frequency and the rigor that's required, by the time we realize and we start to take remedial action, it can take 3, 6, 9, or even 12 months for us to recover that pipeline. So while we are monitoring what's moving through that pipeline and what it is we're closing, at the same time, we've got to be sure that we're actually bringing in those deals to ensure that we are filling that pipeline and that this is continuing to happen in kind of a system and a process. But too often what happens is, because we don't have enough pipeline, we drill deep down into those deals. We start to often put pressure on our customers to try and move them forward faster than the client actually wants to. Why? Because we need the deal. So in these meetings, it's really critical that we uncover what those gaps are so that we can take proactive remedial action and not end up in a situation where we don't have the pipeline that we need to make our number. So when we're having disciplined, productive Monday commit meetings that are essentially a decision forum, so we're actioning decisions and really moving deals forward, the next thing that we need to do as sales managers is we need to be regularly engaging in one-on-one coaching around specific deals with our reps. And here what you want to do is you want to ensure that we're validating those deals with the rep. Now, when we talk about developing talent with our reps, think about this for a moment. If you've got 10 reps on your team, they're all different. They're uniquely wired. Some of them are going to be stronger at generating leads and prospects. Others may be exceptionally strong at discovery. And some really are poor at the front end of the pipeline, but their strength truly comes out when it comes to pitching or to deal closing. And what we need to do as managers is develop the individuals on our team so that they're essentially becoming stronger in the areas that they individually are weak. And we can't address this in a group forum. Here you need to build trust with your seller so that they trust your intent, so that it actually facilitates you having difficult conversations with them. And here we need to be validating things like, have you tested this deal with the client? Do we know the decision maker? Do we understand the decision-making process? Has the client expressly told you what needs to transpire for this deal to move forward? And who else is involved in the deal? You see, this comes again to what I said in last week's video. You can't see into a circle if you are in it, you have to be on the outside. And as a sales manager, we have a perspective that the individual contributors often don't have. We can see their blind spots, incidentally, just like they can see ours, but we can see their blind spots and we can help to move the needle. And that's what one-on-one coaching should do. It should be changing one behavior in your rep 1 week at a time. And that development really compounds. You know, somebody once said, we overestimate what we can do in 1 day and we underestimate what we can do in a year. So think about it. If your reps were receiving meaningful coaching every week, one deal at a time, moving one behavior every week, where would your entire team and organization be 1 quarter or 1 financial year from now? This is how we move the needle on the talent in our team. Not with one big motivational hoorah, not with a scolding, definitely not with that, but really by calling them to a higher standard, by believing in them, by being invested in them, by observing who they are and helping them to essentially close their gaps, to become stronger where they were once weak and to earn more money. So we've said it's a Monday commit meeting and we need to be having deal coaching one-on-one every week. But what do we do on a Friday? What do we do on a Friday? Let's talk about Fridays. So firstly, if you're having a sales meeting on a Friday, here's what I want to tell you. The data shows us that there is something called decision or issue fatigue that sets in on a Friday. I don't know about you, but on a Friday, I have the best intentions. I can tell you exactly what I'm going to do next week, how I'll be at gym at 5 a.m., what my meal plan is going to look like, etc., etc. And somehow Monday creeps along and what I said on Friday is forgotten. And the same is true for your sales meetings. So please don't try and have a commit meeting on a Friday. But Fridays really are very useful days because on a Friday, what you want to do is ensure that every seller has updated every deal in your pipeline. Everything must be accurate. A reflection of the stage that the deal is in. There must be an evaluation or a value rather attributed to the deal at the right stage. We must be sure that when we're running that Monday commit meeting, and we're essentially running it from the CRM because that's what we do. We put the CRM on a screen, and if it's not in the CRM, it doesn't exist. And if the deal notes don't explain what's happening in the deal, then they're not deal notes. So that's what we do on a Friday. On a Friday, make sure that your reps are updating the CRM, the deals are accurate, the stage is accurate, the valuations are there, and the deal notes are descriptive. What you want is to ensure that if anybody from Exco goes and checks the CRM on a Friday afternoon, it is entirely accurate. And then the other thing to do on a Friday afternoon is to make sure that your reps are reaching out to the clients to confirm all of the meetings that they've booked for the coming week. So Fridays really should be very productive days. And then the additional thing to mention on a Friday is if there are operational issues, deal with them on a Friday. So get your team together, what are their blockers, what are the operational issues, and let's unpack them. And the reason you want to do that is because you don't want to go into your Monday commit meeting and firstly your CRM is not up to date, people are scrambling, and we're getting sucked into operational issues. No. The Monday meeting must be a disciplined commit meeting, a decision-making forum, and that is the only thing that we talk about on a Monday morning. It should be something that sets the focus for the week, that locks us in, and that leaves people feeling energized because there's real substance to what's been discussed. And then the fourth essential meeting that you need to be having is a monthly one-on-one review. And what are you going to do in this monthly one-on-one review? The first thing we want to do is we want to look at the relationship between activities and outcomes. So how many dials is your rep or your SDR doing? How many meetings are actually coming out of that? And if they're having meetings, if they're having 6 meetings a week, so 24 meetings a month, how many of those meetings are actually translating into meaningful proposals? Perhaps they're getting to the proposal stage, but they don't ever quite get to negotiation or closing. All of these are really tells that go back to the conversation we had about coaching. Understanding the relationship between your minimum activity levels and what your sellers are actually doing and the outcomes that they're producing or not producing is really critical for you to fill your pipeline. Then we need to be looking at conversion rates, as we've already said, from one stage to the next, because we know that this is essentially providing us with a coaching or skills gap. And then potentially this might be an opportunity where you would want to look at training. But as I said previously, so often we get calls to say, sales aren't where they need to be, please come and do training. And very often, training is not the solution. Training works when it is laid onto a solid foundation where your reps are held accountable, where they're supported, where they're coached. And in fact, next week, we're going to be talking more about how do you get a greater ROI on training if you do training, and what is the importance of your sales manager in ensuring that you do get the return on investment on that training. Pipeline creation. Where is their individual pipeline? What remedial action do they need to take in order to boost their pipeline or to get their pipeline to 3.5 times what it needs to be, but this time with real validated deals, what actually needs to transpire. What are the coaching themes for that month? What have you been discussing with that individual rep week by week? What behavior were you looking to change deal by deal, week by week? And how has that actually come together when you sit together at the end of the month? And then it's skills gaps and field challenges. So what are the challenges that they're experiencing in the field? Where are they experiencing pushback from clients? Perhaps some negative feedback or some friction that they're finding with ops or accounts or whatever the case might be. And this engagement provides them with a forum to have that conversation with the sales manager. So when we run these 4 meetings consistently, so that's our commit meeting on a Monday, we're tightening the CRM on a Friday, in the middle of the week we're having a one-on-one coaching, and at the end of the month we're meeting one-on-one with the reps. What happens? Well, we start to build real pipeline and real trust. You see, essentially we're asking our sellers to go out there. We want them to take bold action. We want them to be appropriately persistent with our clients, and we want them to give us discretionary effort. That means efforts that we're not paying them for. We want them to give us over and above. And in order for them to do that, they must feel like they can win. This is key. So when we're inflating pipeline and the seller feels like they're going to win, but they don't get the comm, that's demotivating. When they're getting stuck in the deals and they don't feel like they're supported by the coaching, well, that's demotivating. So all of these come together, this commit meeting, the one-on-one coaching, cleaning up the CRM, checking on our meetings, dealing with the operational issues, and then having our final at the end of the month one-on-one review. All of these work to build the trust with your sellers and to keep them focused on what it is that they need to attain next. And when you start to do this with everybody on your team, you build a momentum and a real sales force that becomes unstoppable. So you might be saying, well, this is common sense, right? Okay, but then why isn't it happening? Why is it that so many organizations, what seems so simple and foundational is really difficult to execute on? Let me tell you why. Well, when managers are pulled into internal cross-functional meetings, admin, reporting, client escalations, all of these things, it comes at the cost of the most commercially valuable activities they can engage in. That's pipeline inspection and deal coaching. You see, we can't spread our managers too thin. It comes at a cost. So yes, they're going to be in that meeting. They're going to do the admin and they'll submit the report. But at what cost? Are you really enabling your managers to do the job of managing? Or is there potentially some concern that we're not getting the full yield out of our managers if they're not drowning in admin, and in fact, they're focusing on developing the team? You see, these meetings, because they're optional, are the first ones to go. They're the first ones to go. We cancel the one-on-one appointments because you know what? Susan will understand. And Susan will understand. But next week, the temptation to cancel that meeting is going to be there again. And this is why cadence is a leadership decision. It's not a nice to have. It's not a calendar hack. It truly is essential. And when we don't provide a regular cadence for our sales team, we don't just get a slightly weakened pipeline. What we get is a forecast based on fiction, because the cadence is the only forum in which we can test these deals and stress test the pipeline with the frequency and the rigor that's required to ensure that what we're working on is real. So sit down with your manager and ask them to open their calendar and see, are we protecting these time blocks? Are we protecting the time block for a solid Monday morning commit meeting? Is coaching time protected? Is your manager free to engage meaningfully with coaching? Do we have a hygiene with them that ensures that what is in the CRM can be trusted? Is it in a state where Exco could have a look at the CRM at any point and know that what is there is truly accurate? And do we have a monthly development plan that's ensuring that deal by deal we are moving the needle on the talent of our sellers, that they are essentially moving and graduating on to selling higher up the influence hierarchy, to selling in a more complex environment, selling bigger transaction values and in a shorter sales cycle? Because these 4 things need to happen. What you have is good intentions. And unfortunately, we can't build a forecast on good intentions. Now, let me give you some good news. That's why this week we're providing you with a meeting cadence checklist that you can use and take back into your business this week to go and review the health of your own cadence. And in addition to that, we're providing you with an incredible tool that allows you to calculate the actual time cost for your sales manager on how much time they need to spend in these meetings. And this you can calculate by number of meetings, number of reps, and number of minutes that you've got in that financial quarter. I hope that you'll find this week's lead magnet really useful, that you'll take it into your business, and that you'll begin to apply it. And do come back and let us know how it's working for you and how much success you've been having. For 10 years at the Sales Council, we've been turning pipeline into revenue, revenue into jobs, and jobs into a stronger economy, one deal at a time. So if we can help you in your organization, please do let us know. Very excited to tell you all about our Sales Leadership Growth Lab, designed for sales managers to ensure that they're provided with the tools and the operating system that they need to succeed for you and for your team.